A very good evening, fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests.
Good evening.
Well, they say, if you haven't travelled, you've read only one page of the book called Life. Having read too many books myself and discovered why certain exams are called the board exams, my friends and I were in desperate need of a getaway after the exams of ISC 2012. Thus, in the April of 2012, 7 of us ventured for a road trip to the mountains of Manali. Why? Because we expected it to be the perfect place to unwind and to forget to rewind the horrors of our exams. Frankly, our expectations were exceeded. Our journey began with a completely sleepless train journey till Delhi, which was followed by a car ride to Manali, filled with scenes straight out of our dreams. It was beauty beyond belief. Majestic hills of brown and green, a stunning blue sky dotted with white fluffy clouds that played around impishly in the sky, and lush greenery all around us, sprinkled by small shanties. We thought we were looking at a photoshopped postcard. Our amazement at the works of nature spiraled in sync with the hill roads. This trip was seemingly an education in the magnificence of nature. Everything seemed perfect. The universe seemed at harmony with its inhabitants. Later on, we caught a glimpse of a babbling brook which would go on to join the rolling rivers. It was astonishing to see that what gushed out of our taps at home could also be calm water which flowed with gentle tip taps and also become a surge of liquid force which cut through stony slope and wild woods, tearing down everything in its wake. Well, having witnessed the wild side of nature, we arrived at Manali, ready to harness our wild selves too, but into paragliders. For this, we climbed a steep slope, strapped ourselves into our gliders, and waited for the breeze. Whoosh! I was in the air. I was like a bird, flying, soaring, unfettered. I was racing with the winds. The wind was surging upwards, dragging me with it. And then I swooped down upon the earth, and I could feel the might of the wind in every fiber of my being. It was unreal. But all great things had to end, didn't they? And we finished off our trip with a bit of sightseeing. We went to this small ancient red temple on top of a hill. A typical temple with a small triangular red flag fluttering above its dome. The area was desolate and dusk was approaching. We went inside to pay homage to a glistening white idol of Sri Hanuman and came out soon after. Right then, an old woman approached me. She caught hold of my sleeve, and this short, bent woman demanded that I give her 5 rupees. I'll take you to the horseshoe shrine, she croaked, the remnants of her yellow teeth showing on a brown, creased face. But I had already been there to that shrine, so I told her to leave me alone. But this woman hobbled along with me, stinking of sweat and incessantly inquiring whether I wanted to go to the riverside temple or to the old fort or to some sacred rock. I had had enough of her. I asked her to leave, but she was pig-headed about those 5 rupees. It's almost as if she thought it was her right. I mean, what kind of an attitude is that? I had it with her. I turned around to face her with a feeling of finality. I wanted to end this farce. Why don't you go from here? Go where? She asked. Her voice teared my soul and was left ringing in the hills. truth hit me like a brick wall. The hills cracked, the temple cracked, and the sky fell down. I looked at her, clear through the bullet holes she had for eyes, where hope had been shot dead. The cracks around her eyes burst beyond her face into a life of destitution and despair. All my delusions of dignity and grandeur and the mascots of faith came crashing around my ears. What use was the glorious fort, that auspicious shrine, or that sacred rock if the people who lived there were themselves so miserable? What use was the magnificence of nature when man's nature had been dragged into dishonor? To what effect was the force of the waters when it couldn't stop tears down men's eyes? What good was being one with the wind when you couldn't comfort itself from its wrath in the cold? What good was the beauty of the hills if the people there lived in wretchedness? And then I realized that those shanties may be picturesque to look at, but must be petrifying to live in. That the rivers may be awe-inspiring, but they could be fear-inducing if you had to survive on its banks. That the winds were mighty or light, but they could be very brutal. All my perceptions came plummeting down. The universe was definitely not at harmony. And the only truth around me was that shatterproof old woman. She was the naked truth, and I was reduced to so much small change in her hand. Thank you, and I give it back to the Toastmasters.